Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the last day of February the 28th, 2019. And this is Robert Frank. And we're reading the book called Kreskin, which I'll show you here. The Amazing World of Kreskin. And we happen to be in the second part of that, which is called The Power of Suggestion. And we're on chapter 7. So I will continue reading from where I left off, and we'll start with chapter 7. The late Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet as he was known, has now become somewhat of an American saint in the peripheral area of ESP. It is a role that he probably did not envision, nor would have wanted. Some of his readings, meditations, and comments have been fashioned into a multiple of books, bearing such titles as Edgar Cayce on Atlantis, Edgar Cayce on Jesus Christ. They tend to diminish what appears to have been a remarkable and unusual display of psychic powers. Except for Edgar Cayce, I have not been able to accept much clairvoyance, but there is every indication that he had a gift or developed some unusual technique that could be applied to medical diagnosis. The talent, or whatever it was, is now known as traveling clairvoyance. At set times, Cayce, in his Virginia Beach, or whatever he happened to be, concentrated on diagnosing a patient's illness in a distant place. Thus far, his hits have defied explanation. They have been probed from every possible angle by both medical and psycho researchers. Nothing conclusive, pro or con, has ever been established. The problem with Edgar Cayce, rare in any century, is that his success in healing encourages others who do not have similar gifts. The door is opened to those who plan fraud, as well as to those who honestly believe they have hidden healing powers. For the victim, there is little difference between the quack and the well-intentioned friend who has achieved an alpha state as a result of a 4-day course in mind control. Advertised in many major newspapers and magazines, the courses promise a greater control over emotions, a greater ability to relax, a greater potential for achievement, and general all-around greater happiness, all sterling goals. A few advertisements claim that abilities to practice ESP can be achieved, and that if one stays for the full 4 days, abilities to achieve the alpha state or some other state are said to be possible. One such course disastrously even hints that medical diagnosis is possible in such a state. Recently, after a concert in Texas, I had dinner with the sponsor group. One attractive, apparently intelligent guest said that she had taken a mind control course, had achieved the alpha state, and was now convinced that she had diagnostic capabilities. She said she had diagnosed stomach cancer in a friend and was now practicing mental medicine. Had she told the friend of the exact diagnosis? Well, no, she didn't want to upset the lady. Besides, the patient seemed to be improving. My remark that both parties were suffering from a dangerous delusion brought about wild anger. Some 2 years ago, I enrolled one of my own friends into a mind control class in New York City simply to monitor it. I was dying to know what went on. One of the first class exercises was to unite in a single thought to the end of the Vietnam War. A second exercise was to unite in a thought to save the life of a boy who was in a terminal condition at a Manhattan hospital. 3 months later, with the Vietnam War still raging and the boy dead, I had my monitor call the group leader for an explanation. The answer was, God did not feel the time was right. God had to take the blame. However, my friend did report that he thought he had achieved the alpha state. You can achieve the so-called alpha state, which is a difference in brainwave patterns on the EEG, while reading this book. Although all you have to do is lift your eyes, daydream, just relax and daydream, let your eyes go out of focus, drift and daydream, and float off mentally. If you have an EKG handy, there'll be an alpha response on it. Even as a layman, I do not see how the alpha state, which somehow ends up smacking of a trance, can contribute to diagnosing a bunion. It goes back to Mesmer's day. A patient would be paraded in front of a hypnotized good subject who is said to be practicing lunacy. The subject would then diagnose the patient's illness, sometimes prescribe medicine. The patient, of course, paid for such psychic deliverances. Very possibly, he also died. There are several good mind courses, but they stay well away from diagnosing ailments. Within the limitation of a few days, they are as beneficial and as acceptable as the Dale Carnegie courses. Depending on the individual, they can and do increase an ability to relax and exert greater control over the emotions. They are largely in the think possibility category. Thanks to Emil Core and his day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. A step beyond, yet a step back is psychic surgery. It comes full circle to the ancients' faith healers, even to Mesmer's belief that the electrical energy healed, and it is the possibility of healing through fingertip energy with or without religious aspects. Already, Russian scientists breaking ground again claim to have recorded a strange energy force between mother and child. Further, photographs of a mysterious corona in the fingertips of certain faith healers taken by the Kirlian process with film exposed by pulsed electrical charges indicate that the additional research is worldwide. But no area of psychic phenomenon, no matter how ridiculous it seems, should remain unexplored. Experimental work is being done in several clinics to think heat and warmth into the hands. Subjects sit with eyes closed and imagine that warmth is passing into their hands. A slight rise in the temperature of the hands has been noted in suggestible subjects. No one knows where it will lead, but it might be a mirror or minor aid in circulatory problems. An offshoot of this work is the possibility of some relief of migraine headaches. An application or laying on of warm hands to the head of the subject has appeared to elevated migraine pain in some experiments. Perhaps a form of indirect suggestion takes place, causing a change in pressure on veins and arteries. So imagination may be able to play a role in something as common and frustrating as the migraine, though experiments of this sort must fall into the far-out category in terms of what is known about psychology. It is alone significant that Stanford University is divulging into psychic surgery. Suggestion may also play a role in acupuncture, a treatment every bit as controversial as psychic surgery or faith healing. Prior to treatment, Chinese doctors often lecture the patient showing charts of the acupuncture points. This is followed by the procedure known as moxibustion, Moxibustion, the rubbing of heated herbs into the flesh in the area to be treated. The herbs have the odor of incense. These factors are suggestible in the conditioning sense. Due to interest in acupuncture and having a half-formed theory about that part that suggestion might play in the treatment, I invited an expert to appear on my television program. We discussed the procedures, and then the expert pushed a needle into the fleshy part of my announcer's hand, between the thumb and the forefinger. Bill Luxton said that he felt no pain. For audience volunteers, all middle-aged or over, have been requested to remain outside the studio during the discussion and needle demonstration. I then brought them inside, seating them on the stage side by side. After a few minutes of explanation, I told an acupuncture needle and tapped the left hand and wrist of each subject. I did not penetrate the skin, but tapped with enough force to have caused a reaction in an unconditioned person. They were aware of a sensation but felt no pain. The suggestion was thought the needle, their response blocked the needle point. Next, I requested all 4 subjects to close their eyes so that they could not see which hand I would touch. I pinched the right hand of the first man very hard. He winced. The same reaction was achieved in the lady sitting next to him. Thought suggestion and the compelling of imagination, they had desensitized their left hands without the use of acupuncture. Acupuncture is apparently much more than suggestibility, but there appears to be a linkage of the two, and their linkage warrants investigation. Healing will always be the most dynamic as well as the most dangerous single area of psychic phenomena. Despite tons of research, the emotions and exactly how and when they interlock with the physical are frustrating riddles. They play a part in many familiar incidents that occur far from the uncomfortable corridors of faith healing or acupuncture. Liberace once approached a woman in his audience who had been paralyzed and lame most of her life. He touched her. Promptly, she got up and walked. It was hardly faith healing. That elegantly dressed entertainer was astounded as the lucky lady, emotionally triggered, autosuggestion, who knows. Putting on performances of radio's Truth or Consequences in a service hospital, Ralph Edwards was told of a man who couldn't walk, though there was no apparent cause. Switching the format, Edwards brought in people from the man's past. At show's end, after giving the patient a charm bracelet with all his friends and relatives gathered around, Edwards, at the suggestion of a psychiatrist, said, "Now, sir, here is your car and the keys to it. Come over and get them." The patient shook, paused, rose up, and walked across the stage, emotionally triggered suggestibility. Perhaps out of the incident, a very emotional show was born. Edwards, this is your life. Hello, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And yourself?
Oh, see, I need to recomb my hair. Good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, doing the same old thing I'm always doing.
Good.
Experimenting with a lot of different things and doing my reading. And, of course, tomorrow's payday, so
Oh, that's good.
Tomorrow's lost to the fact that bills get paid and things get done and trips are taken, and at the end of the day I come home and go to bed because I'm tired. And I haven't heard from Reverend Dave for a couple of days, but I know he's in the rehab.
I think it was yesterday. He said he got a good report at the doctor. Yeah, he said he got a good report at the doctor, 4 to 6 weeks from getting this behemoth off my foot. Thing is, and he said he lost 8 pounds.
Well, that's good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know he's been trying to lose weight, so that's always a good.
Yeah.
And, of course, this is the last day of the month, so whatever I'd done for True Nighted is all done.
Yeah.
Tomorrow starts a new month. And
I've only got about 30 points. I'm just having a real hard time getting the points.
Yeah, I've only got 41. It's not a whole lot, but
I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah, you know. And we managed to get through February, and I think they were doing a lot. And I have seen some notifications of certain things that are supposed to be changing. And so I think March is going to be a little bit better month.
Hope
Because,
so. I really hope.
they went through a lot of things that, they're trying to change. Other than that, I think for March, I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on trying to get some more people involved. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some, and I got some that work, but I need a lot more that work.
I don't have any that work. So I'm plumb out of luck.
Yeah, just got to figure out a way to go out and get some more. And, we'll do that. Anyway, I'm still in Kreskin, and I'm on, I think I'm chapter 7, if I remember. And so I'll just continue to read on and go from there.
Okay.
And he's talking a lot about suggestibility. So that's basically what the chapter's about. And he's talking about Edgar Casey and how he was able to heal people through clairvoyance. And he's discussing
Wow.
a little bit about how he feels about Edgar Casey and the ability to heal people through clairvoyance.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's not impossible, but he says caution is absolutely important, only because one might think it works, but you still might die.
Oh.
So anyway, I'll go ahead and continue reading.
Okay.
Vivid in my own memory is an evening at a private party about 6 years ago. I had seated 8 subjects in chairs and had told them that they would soon be leaving on a train trip and that they would describe the countryside and the towns they passed through as the train rolled along. I said I would give them a signal. They wave goodbye to relatives, and then the train would start. We did not take that imaginary trip. On my signal to depart, a young girl raised her arm to wave goodbye, and then there was an immediate outcry from many of the other guests in the room who, observing the girl had not been able to lift her arm for 3 or 4 years because of a previous injury. Physical and psychiatry therapy eventually restored full use of the arm. It appears that reactions in all of these cases were completely automatic. None of the patients were considering their infirmities at that particular moment. Suggestion went its own course. That was the end of that chapter. That was quick.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start on chapter 8. It is probable that many people with a limited concentration span can never achieve telepathy. Although the basic equipment is there. I'm not home.
I was going to say, is that me or you?
That's me. So perception takes, well, no. The hell with it, I'll start over. It is probable that many people with a limited concentration span can never achieve telepathy, although the basic equipment is there. Thought perception takes years of sensitivity. Few people are inclined to spend the time and the effort. However, The use of suggestibility as an extension of our normal use of suggestion is possible for almost everyone. Salesmen employ it daily, but few realize the total potential, of course. To bring it to the refined state approaching the science of suggestibility would also require years of effort. But autosuggestion, as I practice it, is within easy reach of every human. With relatively little training and effort, it can be used in countless ways. No mind control course is necessary, not even a how-to book. Simplicity, not in the process, but in utilization, is its chief asset. After a point, it becomes as natural as sleeping and eating. In one respect, autosuggestion is the absolute antithesis of the scientific method, which is to believe only what is observable or based on past observations and explainable only according to scientific data. Admittedly, autosuggestion is also contrary to common sense dictates. Despite science and the rules of common sense, it works. As mentioned before, the key to the successful use of autosuggestion is one word: conviction. An old hymn says, "All things are possible, only believe." Another says, "All things are possible, only believe." And another says, "Faith is victory." All things are not possible, and faith isn't always victory. But in this case, ridiculous as it may sound, the conviction key carries more weight than science. Conditioning is necessary. Call it auto conditioning or anything you choose. It is composed of a series of mental exercises that lead to the use of autosuggestion. However, they come in the usually palatable form of relaxation. In this game, as in most games, there are a few loose rules. 1. Make up your mind that you are not going to concentrate intently on the exercises while you practice them. If you do, how can you relax? 2. Be passive. Melt mentally. The imagination must be given a free rein. The unconscious functions independently of the consciousness. So what may seem irrational is not. Suggestion and imagination work hand in hand again. So the wildest mental plane should be opened. With these two general guides in mind, the sequence for auto-conditioning may be roughly patterned as follows. 1. Sitting in a deep chair or lying down, make yourself comfortable. 2. Reflect for a few seconds on an experience in which you have achieved extreme relaxation. Perhaps while spending a quiet afternoon on the beach, or falling asleep in front of a fireplace after a walk in the snow, or lying in a deep shade on a riverbank. Recall as much of the experience as you can. 3, close your eyes and think of your favorite passive color. Blues and greens work best for me. 4. After a few seconds, take 3 deep breaths, hold the third, the deepest, and mentally repeat the color 3 times. 5. Exhale and go limp. Make no effort to move a muscle. Simply stay relaxed and count backwards mentally from 50 to 0 very slowly. At 0, count forward from 1 to 3 and open your eyes. And that routine, consuming all of 5 minutes, is the first step in my homegrown method toward auto-conditioning, which in turn sets the stage for successful auto-suggestion. There are other ways to go about it, but I prefer the simplest route. After doing it several times, you may find you lose track of numbers or perhaps skip a few. It doesn't matter. You'll end up on 0, which is the conditioning goal for relaxation. During the first 2 weeks, practice 3 times daily, preferably at different periods of the day. It means closing off the world around for 15 minutes, a time period which even the most hurried mother and housewife or the busiest executive should be able to afford. Beginning with the 3rd week, the sessions can be reduced to twice daily, but should not drop below that quota. Many people who have tried it prefer to maintain 3 a day, finding the experience pleasant rather than boring. If miracles are not expected, if you don't question what is occurring and allow nature to take its course, you will find you are increasing a level of general relaxation affecting both the muscles and the nervous system, at the same time setting up conditions for auto-suggestion to succeed. Basically, it is accomplished by not trying to relax, but by permitting the body and the mind to take advantage of submission set up through the conditioned mind. Relaxation can be learned, and even for the hyperactive individual, it should not be overly difficult. Most experts on the subject concentrate on reducing body tensions. Once the body is relaxed, they maintain, the mind usually slacks off too. The procedures are irreversible, of course. If you find that the easiest path to relaxation does not lead directly from the mind, then you approach it physically. Excuse me. 1. Sitting or lying down immediately tense all muscles. Now relax and let go each set of muscles. Let your right arm go limp, then let your left arm go limp, then your right leg, then your left leg. Drop the shoulders, the back, the trunk. Even eyelids are capable of reacting to a signal to relax. As you initially relax each arm and leg, you'll find that other muscles are relaxing sympathetically. It is difficult to let go the tensions in one arm and not have a response to the other. We return to the theory of the whole being. Each member of the body is part of the whole body. This sympathetic reaction of the muscles also illustrates how attitude held in thought tends to affect the whole system. It is impossible to relax the body without a similar reaction in the conscious mind. With the reverse course of conditioning now accomplished, and in only a few seconds, you can go back to the steps of thinking of a relaxing experience, a passive color, and the counting from 50 back to 0. Gradually, using either method, the process of conditioning can become such an integral part of your daily mental and physical nourishment that you'll find it a fortification against tension at home or in the office. In time, the progressive relaxation can be dropped and instant relaxation can be achieved through mind control. The mind will do its job on signal, responding in a few seconds. I have taught several BELEAGUERED haired TV announcers how to come off it in less than 30 seconds.
Beleaguered?
I guess beleaguered, yeah. I think that's what it is. In the grind of today's world, this use of mind control for the purpose of relaxation alone would seem worthwhile. Fortunately, theory is not involved. Biofeedback researchers have established through electrodes attached to subjects that certain thought patterns can lower metabolism. That's a fact. I did that once. Naturally, they can also increase it. Individuals who become skilled in the use of auto conditioning can relax while running or walking simply by feeding thoughts that work for them. Conditioning having been achieved, the mind ready to receive and accept its singular important message, cleared of trivia and turmoil, the processes of autosuggestion are possible. Within these processes, I have a theory that the unconsciousness is alerted and ready to become the holding place, perhaps the ultimate guiding place for the thought. The signal or thought can be something as simple as arousing promptly at 3 a.m. without the use of an alarm clock, instant sleep on an aircraft, or the need to embed a key answer to a troublesome exam question, an act of self-improvement, combating a habit, or elevating pain. I have used all of these and many more at one time or another. The limit is within the individual. Pre-sleep autosuggestion can be a normal extension of its use, providing longer and deeper rest. We often take worries and problems to bed with us as negatives. They forecast a restless, tossing night and possibly disturbing dreams. While total assurance may be impossible through autosuggestion, positive aspects can be implanted and well aided in sleep, and facing the new day with the same old problems will be easier. Studies at the Minneapolis Medical Center Dream Laboratory have proven conclusively what had long been suspected. The sleeping period is far from dormant. During certain periods, the mind remains active and awake. There are also indications that it attempts to recuperate, and dreams are frequently important escape valves for accumulated pressures. People are thought to be especially responsive to ideas and suggestions during the earlier periods of sleep, estimated at the first half hour in the average person. This period then is the ideal time for the mind to receive and integrate constructive and acceptable suggestions. The valve of sleep learning by recorded messages is at best woefully, W-O-E, limited, woefully limited.
Woefully.
It is likely that any learning process would have to take place during the early period, and there is no gauge as to the depth of the impression, if any takes place at all. In truth, the best response, in my experience, is the technique of introducing suggestions prior to falling asleep. My method of free sleep conditioning goes back to Konu, stressing the positive. It doesn't need to be his exact framed slogan, but it should build self-esteem and look to a brighter personal tomorrow. Although it may sound as if you're indulging in ego polishing, horseplay, or assume your favorite sleeping position and mentally repeat, autosuggestion is becoming the key to my daily self-improvement or some variation. Even better is to create your own personal slogan using vivid references. The slogan should be repeated 20 times. Move your lips as if you were speaking it out loud. Simultaneously count on your fingers. Press each one against the thumb as the suggestion is repeated silently. Without realizing it, you're practicing both a mental and physical exercise. If you need to make it sound important, it's known as a clarophysical exercise. They always give you the big words.
Yeah.
The consequence should always be completed the first 7 nights. After the first week or so, dozing off before completion will not disturb the pattern. Your lips will move and your fingers will press, carrying over into the doze. Feed in of the free sleep autosuggestion, whether it is set a timing device in your mind to wake at 6:30 a.m. or to probe the unconsciousness for a lost bank statement, is then coupled with the conditioning prior to the point of drifting off. Where is that bank statement? It is necessary to go through such a seemingly absurd routine, one so foreign to the average intelligence. In most cases, I think that the mind needs to be primed much as a carburetor primes an engine. I'm at a loss to know why some people reject the idea of intermental communication. Practicing the simple arousal routine often, depending on it to catch the next jet for a plane date, I've often wondered whether or not my unconsciousness literally views the clock at the appropriate hour or whether it counts down from the time I went to sleep. How does it precisely awake me at a specific time? I don't think that anyone knows. Once again, the suggestion is quite temporary. It wears off in a few minutes to a dozen hours, and in the case of self-improvement such as a golf game, must be reinforced constantly. In cigarette smoking, the person who quits after one session of hypnosis or suggestion is primed to quit. He wants to quit, and he only needs a push. He must then carry on his own treatment by autosuggestion. In achievement in a job or a career, autosuggestion is a reinforcement toward the aim. The aim is held in the mind and the signal is reinforced daily. In this instance, it reverts back to Peele's power of positive thinking. I remember sitting for an interview with news reporter Taylor Holbrook in the Sheridan House dining room, Pittsburgh, New Jersey in 1966. Holbrook of the Phillipsburg Free Press had forgotten his notebook. Laughing, he said, "Why don't you hypnotize me and make me remember everything I went through a systematic technique employing suggestions," and reinforced him several times during the 2-hour conversation. Later, from total recall, he wrote a story of about 1,000 words. However, it was his own mechanism, his acceptance of the fact that he would remember everything that enabled him to retain the details. His response indicated he might have accomplished the same thought through autosuggestion, reinforcing himself. It is impossible to begin to cover the range of autosuggestion usage. In Russian experiments, it is applied to cosmonauts to distort time. Though visual imaginary occupying the mind, it can shorten time within the space capsule. An ordinary example of this is possible during any flight. Stare out of the window at cloud formations and think of something entirely removed from the aircraft. See it mentally, savor it, in 10 minutes you can become one. Golf has a particular problem. I believe unlike basketball or football, the player can become too self-indulged between holes. He competes with himself as well as with other players. He has time between shots to reflect on the mistake of the last hole and worry about the next one. There is ample time to feed a negative information which may well affect his play. With autosuggestion, he can deflect the negative and turn it positive. Although the removal of pain by autosuggestion is a myth, as it is by hypnosis, it can be somewhat deafened or divided. It can be made to feel detached. If imagination can convert a mere touch of the finger into a shooting pain, as has been proven by suggestibility, then this same mental tool can be employed in some circumstances to elevate severe agony. It cannot remove it, and the time span is limited. I think of the dangers of the use of autosuggestion for pain elevation are exaggerated. Some psychiatrists claim that autosuggestion may have lasting negative effects because the pain is being masked. This falls into the category of 1,000 different psychological may-haves. So far, there is no factual support to indicate that a person who has used his mind to elevate pain, and sometimes the human species has probably been doing since creation, will suffer later mental damage. However, it may be delayed, needed medical attention. The real danger in autosuggestion, in my opinion, is that people will expect results in any given situation beyond its capability. And I think I'm going to stop there. Let me check here. Yeah, next chapter is quite long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And we will continue with chapter 9 in the next reading. And
I'm back.
okay.
Cat was getting into something.
Oh, okay.
He had a plastic bowl on the floor trying to get the cover off. He's such a pain in the neck. Oh, gosh.
Well, I just finished that chapter. I'm just going to go ahead and, for the sake of the recording, I'm just going to say, glad everybody showed up. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I'll see you on Saturday. So everyone have a great and wonderful day, and I'm going to stop the recording.